Like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy set to address UN Security Council about Russia's war crimes. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is set to speak to UN Security Council diplomats outraged by growing evidence that Russian forces have deliberately killed civilians. Many of them were shot in yards, streets and homes, and their bodies left in the open. The withdrawal of Russian troops from towns around Ukraine's capital revealed the corpses, which led to calls for tougher sanctions against the Kremlin, especially a cut-off of fuel imports from Russia. Germany and France reacted by expelling dozens of Russian diplomats, suggesting they were spies. US President Joe Biden said Russian leader Vladimir Putin should be tried for war crimes. "This guy is brutal, and what is happening in Bucha is outrageous," Mr. Biden said. Mr. Biden was referring to the town northwest of the capital that was the scene of some of the horrors. The discovery of bodies in Bucha was expected to be front and center at the Security Council session, said Barbara Woodward, the UN ambassador for the United Kingdom, which currently holds the Council presidency. Associated Press journalists in Bucha counted dozens of corpses in civilian clothes and apparently without weapons, many shot at close range, and some with their hands bound or their flesh burned. After touring neighbourhoods of Bucha and speaking to hungry survivors lining up for bread, Mr. Zelenskyy pledged in a video address that Ukraine would work with the European Union and the International Criminal Court to identify Russian fighters involved in any atrocities. "The time will come when every Russian will learn the whole truth about who among their fellow citizens killed, who gave orders, who turned a blind eye to the murders," he said. Stage-managed provocation. Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov dismissed the scenes outside Kyiv as a stage-managed anti-Russian provocation. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said the images contained signs of video forgery and various fakes. Russia has similarly rejected previous allegations of atrocities as fabrications on Ukraine's part. Ukrainian officials said the bodies of at least 410 civilians had been found in towns around Kyiv that were recaptured from Russian forces in recent days. Torture chamber. The Ukrainian Prosecutor General's office described one room discovered in Bucha as a torture chamber. In a statement, it said the bodies of 5 men with their hands bound were found in the basement of a children's sanatorium where civilians were tortured and killed. The bodies seen by AP journalists in Bucha included at least 13 in and around a building that local people said Russian troops used as a base. 3 other bodies were found in a stairwell, and a group of 6 were burned together. The dead witnessed by the news agency's journalists also included bodies wrapped in black plastic, piled on one end of a mass grave in a Bucha churchyard. Many of those victims had been shot in cars or killed in explosions while trying to flee the city. With the morgue full and the cemetery impossible to reach, the churchyard was the only place to keep the dead, priest Father Andrii Galavin said. Tanya Nedashkivska said she buried her husband in a garden outside their apartment building after he was detained by Russian troops. His body was one of those left heaped in a stairwell. "Please, I am begging you, do something," she said. "It's me talking, a Ukrainian woman, a mother of 2 kids and 1 grandchild. For all the wives and mothers, make peace on earth so no one ever grieves again," she said. Another Bucha resident, Volodymyr Pilhutskyi, said his neighbor Pavlo Vlasenko was taken away by Russian soldiers because the military-style pants he was wearing and the uniforms that Mr. Vlasenko said belonged to his security guard son appeared suspicious. When Mr. Vlasenko's body was later found, it had burn marks from a flamethrower, his neighbor said. Russia South Union Ambassador, Vassily Nebenzia, insisted on Monday at a news conference that during the time that Bucha was under Russian control, not a single local person has suffered from any violent action. However, high-resolution satellite imagery by commercial provider Maxar Technologies showed that many of the bodies had been lying in the open for weeks, during the time that Russian forces were in Bucha. The New York Times first reported on the satellite images showing the dead. Western and Ukrainian leaders have accused Russia of war crimes before, And the International Criminal Court's prosecutor has already opened an investigation. Growing condemnation, but the latest reports ratcheted up the condemnation. German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock said the images from Bucha revealed the unbelievable brutality of the Russian leadership and those who follow its propaganda. And French President Emmanuel Macron said there was clear evidence of war.